Please, he's freezing, the woman whispered, clutching her baby as snow burned her skin. Across the street, Princess Diana stopped mid-step. Laughter faded. Conversations died. Her gloved hand trembled as her eyes locked onto the child's blue lips. Without a word, she unbuttoned her royal fur and wrapped it around them both. A crown means nothing if a child is cold. The crowd gasped. No one moved. No one breathed. In that single moment, royalty was redefined forever. Before we begin, where are you watching from today? The baby didn't cry. That silence was what broke her first. Snow fell in slow, quiet sheets along the pavement, muffling the city's breath. The woman sat against the stone wall, knees pulled tight, arms wrapped around the bundle pressed to her chest. Her lips were cracked, her fingers shook. The baby's face was too still. Footsteps approached. Expensive shoes. Soft laughter. The sound of privilege moving past suffering without slowing. Then it stopped. Princess Diana stood frozen, the world narrowing to the woman and the child. Her smile vanished. Her breath caught. A single step forward felt heavier than any royal duty she had ever carried. Is the baby asleep? Diana asked softly. The woman looked up, startled. Her eyes were red, hollow. He's cold, she whispered. Diana's gloved hand tightened. She knelt without hesitation, silk brushing against dirty snow. Cameras lowered. Guards stiffened. How old is he? Diana asked. 3 months, the woman said. Maybe. Diana reached out, then stopped herself, as if afraid to shatter the moment. Does he have a name? The woman swallowed. Not yet. A gust of wind cut through them. The baby stirred weakly. Diana noticed the thin blanket. Too thin. Barely there. Her jaw clenched. You shouldn't be here, a guard murmured behind her. Diana didn't turn. She shouldn't be cold, she replied. The woman's voice trembled. I'll move soon. I just needed him to rest. Diana scanned the street, the lights, the warmth behind glass windows, the indifference. Her breath slowed, decision forming without words. Take this, Diana said, slipping off one glove. The woman hesitated. I can't. You can, Diana said quietly. Another guard stepped closer. Ma'am, protocol. Diana finally looked up, eyes sharp. Protocol can wait. She reached for the fur coat draped over her shoulders. Fingers paused at the clasp. For a fraction of a second, doubt flickered. Not fear, but awareness. Cameras, headlines, consequences. Then she unfastened it. Gasps rippled through the small crowd that had gathered. Snow touched bare sleeves. Diana leaned forward and wrapped the coat around the woman and child, tucking it tight, sealing in warmth with practiced care. The woman broke. I don't know how to thank you. Diana shook her head. Don't thank me, she said. Hold him. Tears streamed down the woman's face as she pressed the baby closer. Color slowly returned to his cheeks. A bystander whispered, she didn't have to do that. Diana heard it. Yes, she said softly. She did. A crown means nothing if a child is cold. As Diana rose, sirens echoed in the distance, and someone in the crowd lifted a camera, capturing a moment the palace was never meant to see. The warmth had barely settled. Then the judgment arrived. The street no longer felt quiet. Whispers crept in, sharp and unkind, sliding between falling snowflakes. Diana could feel them before she heard them. The stares, the disbelief, the discomfort of people watching a line being crossed. A woman in a tailored coat leaned toward her companion. She's encouraging this, she muttered. Another voice followed, louder than intended. This isn't appropriate. Diana straightened, brushing snow from her knees. The homeless woman clutched the fur coat tighter, eyes darting around like a trapped animal. I didn't ask her to stop, the woman whispered, panic rising. I can leave. Diana turned back instantly. No, she said. You won't. A palace aide stepped forward, face pale. Ma'am, this is becoming a scene. Diana met his gaze. It already was. The baby whimpered softly, the first sound he'd made. The woman rocked him instinctively, tears blurring her vision. A man from the crowd scoffed. She'll give it back later. This is just for cameras. Diana's shoulders stiffened. She looked toward him slowly, deliberately. This isn't a performance, she said. The man shrugged. Then prove it. Silence snapped tight around them. Diana reached into her purse and pressed something into the woman's shaking hand. Folded bills. Enough to last days, maybe weeks. The woman gasped. I can't take this. You already are, Diana replied gently. A guard hissed under his breath. This will not go over well. Diana glanced at him. Neither does hunger. The murmurs grew uglier. She's embarrassing the crown. She's forgotten her place. This sets a dangerous example. The woman lowered her head, shame washing over gratitude. I'm sorry, she whispered. I didn't mean to cause trouble. Diana knelt again, ignoring the cold seeping through her clothes. "You didn't cause this," she said. "You survived it." A camera flash went off, then another, faces twisted, some moved by tears, others by outrage. An older woman from the crowd stepped forward hesitantly. "She did the right thing," she said. Someone snapped back. "She broke protocol." Diana rose slowly, her voice calm but unyielding. "Then maybe protocol is broken." The baby finally cried, a thin, fragile sound that sliced through every argument. Conversations died instantly. Diana looked down at the child, eyes shining. "Loud is good," she whispered. A palace car pulled up at the curb. The door opened. The aide leaned close. "They're watching now. All of them." Diana nodded once. "Let them." Kindness always looks dangerous to people who've never needed it. As Diana turned toward the waiting car, a senior royal advisor stepped out. Face tight, eyes furious, and the air shifted from judgment to confrontation. Before the advisor could speak, a small voice cut through the cold. The senior royal advisor took one sharp step forward. His expression carved from restraint and fury. "Enough," he said. "This has gone far. I have a blanket." The voice was thin, young, unafraid. Everyone turned. A little girl stood at the edge of the crowd. No older than 8. Her coat was worn, sleeves too short, but her eyes were steady. In her arms was a faded pink blanket. Folded with care, she walked past the adults before anyone could stop her. "This one's warmer," she said, holding it out to the homeless woman. "My mum says sharing helps." The woman froze, overwhelmed. "Oh, sweetheart, it's okay," the girl insisted. "I can use my jumper." Diana felt her chest tighten. She knelt again, this time in front of the child. "What's your name?" Diana asked. "Emily," the girl said. Diana smiled softly. "That's very brave of you." Emily shrugged. "He's just a baby." The advisor cleared his throat sharply. "This is inappropriate," he snapped. "You should step back." Emily looked at him, confused. "Why?" The word landed harder than any argument. No one answered. The homeless woman's hands trembled as she accepted the blanket, layering it over the fur coat. The baby quieted almost instantly. Emily beamed. "See? He likes it." A man in the crowd wiped his eyes. Another turned away, jaw clenched. The cameras kept rolling, but something had shifted. This was no longer about royalty. Diana rose slowly, her voice calm but firm. "She did what we all should have done," she said. The advisor lowered his voice, urgent. "This is spiraling. Children are involved now." "They always were," Diana replied. Emily tugged at Diana's sleeve. "Are you the princess?" Diana nodded. "Yes." Emily thought for a moment. "Then you're doing it right." The words hit Diana like a quiet truth. She swallowed, eyes shining. A guard stepped forward hesitantly. "We need to move, ma'am." Diana looked back at the woman on the ground. "Will you be safe tonight?" The woman nodded, clutching the blankets. "I will now." Diana reached into her purse once more, pressing a card into the woman's palm. "Call this number," she said. "Anytime." The advisor stiffened. "That number is private." Diana didn't look at him. "So is dignity." Emily waved as Diana stepped away. "Bye," she said. "Don't forget him." Diana paused, turning back one last time. "I won't," she said softly. It took a child to remind the world what kindness looks like. As Diana entered the car, her aide whispered urgently, "The palace phones are already ringing, and they're not calling to say thank you." The car door hadn't fully closed. The damage already had. Inside the palace vehicle, silence pressed harder than the cold outside. Diana sat upright, hands folded in her lap, eyes fixed ahead. The fur coat was gone. So was any illusion of safety. Her aide broke first. "Phones are lighting up." Diana didn't blink. "They always do." The senior advisor leaned forward, voice sharp and contained. "You crossed a visible line." Diana turned slowly. "A visible line to whom?" "To everyone," he snapped. "Charity is controlled. Symbolic, not personal." Diana's jaw tightened. Cold is personal. The car rolled through the gates. Guards saluted. Inside, tension grew teeth. "You humiliated the institution," the advisor continued. "You let cameras film weakness." Diana's voice dropped, steady and dangerous. "They filmed truth." A folder appeared in the advisor's hands. Headlines are already forming. He opened it, reading aloud. "Princess blurs royal boundaries. Improper display in public. Emotional outburst raises questions." Diana exhaled slowly. A baby nearly froze. "That won't be the story," he replied. The car stopped. Doors opened. Warmth rushed in, artificial and staged. Inside the palace corridor, footsteps echoed. Staff looked away. Some bowed. Some didn't. A senior courtier whispered as she passed. This could have been handled privately. Diana stopped walking. She turned, eyes bright, voice calm. So could hunger. The courtier flinched. In a private room, coats removed, Diana stood by the window. Outside, the city lights glittered. Distant, detached. They want a statement, the aide said. An apology. Diana laughed once. Soft, unamused. For what? For reacting, the advisor said. For involving a child, for giving money, for removing the coat. Diana faced him fully. Which part offended you most? He hesitated. That you meant it. A long silence followed. Diana walked back to the window. Her reflection stared back. Not royal, not rehearsed. Human. They'll restrict your schedule, the aide warned. Limit appearances. Diana nodded. Then they'll see less. And if they silence you, the advisor pressed. Diana's reflection didn't waver. Then they'll hear more. A knock interrupted them. A young staffer entered, shaken. There's public response. The advisor stiffened. Negative? The staffer swallowed. No. Thousands. Letters. Calls. People crying on the lines. Diana closed her eyes briefly. They're asking one question, the staffer continued. Why does kindness need permission? The advisor said nothing. They feared her kindness more than her silence. As night fell over the palace, a sealed envelope arrived on Diana's desk. Stamped urgent, carrying consequences no one had dared say aloud. What would you do in this moment? The envelope wasn't a warning. It was a tightening grip. Diana broke the seal slowly, fingers steady despite the weight of the moment. Inside, thick parchment carried the unmistakable authority of the institution she served, and defied. Immediate review of conduct. Temporary suspension of unscheduled appearances. Mandatory consultation. The advisor watched closely. They're moving fast. They always do, Diana replied. By morning, pressure arrived from every corner. Newspapers stacked high with her face splashed across inked judgment. Some headlines praised warmth. Others carved her into scandal. A court official approached during breakfast. Several charities have called. Diana looked up, concerned. Threatened, he admitted. They say you overshadowed them. Diana's lips pressed thin. Hunger doesn't care who gets credit. A call came through from a senior royal voice. Distant and controlled. This cannot become a pattern. Diana held the receiver calmly. Kindness shouldn't be occasional. Silence crackled on the line. That attitude destabilizes tradition. Diana ended the call without response. In the corridors, allies hesitated. Friends avoided eye contact. Even staff who once smiled, now whispered. She's unpredictable now, someone murmured. Diana heard it. She kept walking. Later, her aide entered quietly. There's concern from sponsors. Diana turned. About? Image, the aide said carefully. They prefer distance from controversy. Diana exhaled. So does comfort. A private meeting followed. Long table, polished wood, cold faces. You've inspired the wrong expectations, one official said. Diana leaned forward. Expecting compassion is wrong? Another replied sharply. Expecting it publicly is, they fear you're becoming a symbol, the advisor added. Diana met his eyes. I already am. Outside the palace gates, crowds gathered. Some held signs of support. Others accused betrayal. Cameras waited like vultures. A letter arrived, handwritten, no crest. Diana read it alone. I saw you. My daughter asked why the princess cried. Thank you for showing her it's allowed. Diana folded it carefully, eyes glistening. But not all messages were gentle. Another letter followed. Anonymous, venomous. You embarrassed us. Stay in your place. Diana stared at the words, then set them aside. That evening she stood by the same window as before. City lights blinked back. Unaware of politics, aware only of cold nights. Her aide approached softly. They're planning to limit you further. Diana nodded. Then they don't understand me. And if they force you? The aide asked. Diana turned, voice low, resolved. Then they'll have to watch. They tried to cage her compassion, forgetting it had already learned how to fly. As Diana left the room, a trusted staffer whispered urgently. There's someone asking for you. Someone from the street. The knock was soft. The consequences were not. Diana turned as the door opened. The woman from the street stepped inside. No longer wrapped in fur. No longer trembling but not whole either. Her posture was guarded. Her eyes carried apology before words ever could. I didn't know where else to go, the woman said quietly. Diana moved toward her at once. You're safe here. The woman hesitated. I don't think I am. A chill crept into the room, sharper than the snow outside. Diana noticed the way the woman avoided her eyes. What happened? Diana asked. The woman clasped her hands tightly. They came this morning. Officials, said they were sent to help. The advisor, standing near the wall, stiffened. They asked questions, the woman continued. Where I sleep, who I speak to. They took notes. Diana's voice lowered. Did they touch the baby? No, the woman said quickly. But they said something else. Diana waited. They said if I spoke to the press, I could lose him. Silence crashed into the room. Diana's breath caught. They threatened you. They called it protection, the woman whispered. They said you made things complicated. The advisor stepped forward sharply. This is not how procedures work. The woman finally looked at him. You were there. The accusation landed heavy. Diana turned slowly toward the advisor. Were you? He didn't answer immediately. His jaw tightened. Things escalated. You sent them, Diana said, realization slicing clean. It was damage control, he replied. She's unstable. The child. Diana's voice cut through. Do not finish that sentence. The woman stepped back, tears spilling. I didn't want to betray you, she said, but they scared me. Diana closed the distance between them, hands gentle on the woman's arms. You didn't betray me. She looked at the advisor again. You used her, he straightened defensively. The crown must protect itself. Diana's eyes burned. From kindness, a staffer rushed in, breathless. There's a press leak. The advisor paled. They're saying the woman exploited the moment. The woman shook violently. That's not true. Diana pulled her close, steadying her. I know. But it's already out, the staffer added. They're turning the story. Diana felt it then. The betrayal wasn't just personal. It was strategic, manufactured. They'll paint her as a liar, Diana said, and me as foolish. The advisor didn't deny it. The woman sobbed quietly. I just wanted my baby warm. Diana held her tighter, and they turned that into a weapon. They didn't punish her kindness. They punished the people it touched. As guards appeared at the door, summoned without her consent, Diana realized the fight had shifted, and now they were coming for more than her reputation. Diana didn't raise her voice. She raised her resolve. The guards waited at the doorway, uncertain, eyes shifting between duty and discomfort. Diana stood unmoving, one hand resting protectively on the woman's shoulder. No one is taking her anywhere, Diana said. The advisor stepped forward. This isn't your decision anymore. Diana turned to him slowly. It never was yours. The woman clutched her baby tighter. They said I had no choice. Diana knelt in front of her, voice low and steady. You do now. She looked up at the guards. Please step outside. One hesitated. Another nodded. Boots retreated. The door closed. The advisor exhaled sharply. You're making this worse. Diana stood. I'm making it human. She crossed the room and picked up the phone herself. No aid, no filter. Get me legal counsel, she said. Independent. The advisor stiffened. That's unnecessary. So is intimidation, Diana replied. Minutes later, a trusted confidant arrived. Quiet, sharp-eyed. Diana spoke plainly, without drama. They threatened custody, she said. They leaked lies. The confidant nodded. Then we document everything. The woman trembled. They said no one would believe me. Diana met her gaze. I do. The baby stirred, fingers curling around the woman's coat. Diana smiled faintly at the sight. A reminder of why this mattered. They'll come harder, the advisor warned. They'll isolate you. Diana didn't look at him. I've been alone before. She turned to the woman. Do you trust me? The woman hesitated, then nodded. Yes. Then stay, Diana said. Tonight. With protection. With witnesses. The advisor snapped. You cannot shelter her here. Diana's eyes flashed. Watch me. Phones rang again. News escalated. But something else began spreading. Not controlled. Not scripted. Voices. People stepped forward. Nurses. Social workers. Mothers. Letters flooded in, describing cold nights, silent babies, fear dressed up as policy. A junior staffer whispered, awed, they're siding with you. Diana closed her eyes briefly. They're siding with truth. The advisor lowered his voice, almost pleading. This could cost you everything. Diana finally faced him fully. Then it was never mine. She returned to the woman, placing a gentle hand over the baby's chest, feeling the warmth real, undeniable. No matter what happens, Diana said softly, he won't be cold tonight. They tried to silence her, but she answered with protection. As dawn approached, headlines began to turn, and deep inside the palace, a final decision was being prepared. One that would test how much power Diana truly had. What would you do if standing up cost everything? The decision was made in silence, and silence can be lethal. Morning light crept through palace windows, pale and unforgiving. Diana stood alone for a moment, listening to the building wake, footsteps, murmurs, the soft machinery of power preparing to move. The advisor entered without knocking. They've decided, he said. Diana didn't turn. So have I. He hesitated. They're issuing a formal rebuke. Public. Final. Diana faced him slowly. For what crime? Defiance, he replied. Unauthorized protection. Legal interference. The words sounded rehearsed. Hollow. The woman and her baby rested in a nearby room under guard. Real guards this time, chosen by Diana. The baby slept peacefully, chest rising and falling in steady rhythm. Diana glanced toward the door. Does the statement mention them? The advisor's eyes flicked away. No. Then it means nothing, Diana said. A staffer rushed in, breathless. There's movement outside. Crowds gathered beyond the gates, larger than before. Not shouting, waiting. They're holding candles, the staffer added softly. Diana closed her eyes. Inside the conference chamber, officials sat rigid, papers aligned like weapons. Diana entered alone. This meeting is to correct an imbalance, one began. Diana interrupted calmly. No, it's to hide one, a murmur rippled. You undermined authority, another snapped. Diana stepped forward. I upheld humanity. A voice rose sharply. You are not elected to decide that. Diana's gaze didn't waver. Neither are you. Silence slammed down. The advisor leaned close, urgent. If you proceed, there will be consequences. Diana nodded. I know. She turned to the assembled officials. I will not apologize for warmth, she said. I will not regret protection. And I will not pretend cruelty is order. One official scoffed. You're choosing optics over stability. Diana replied quietly. No, I'm choosing a child over comfort. Outside, chanting began. Low, steady, human. A junior official whispered, shaken. They're chanting her name. The room stiffened. A message arrived mid-meeting. Phones vibrating at once. Headlines updated in real time. Public outpouring floods palace. Palace. Princess stands her ground. The balance shifted. Subtly. Irreversibly. The advisor's voice dropped. This is bigger than us now. Diana met his eyes. It always was. She rose from her seat. My decision stands. No one stopped her. She walked out, past stunned faces, toward the woman and child waiting, toward consequence without retreat. She didn't win by fighting power. She won by refusing to fear it. As Diana stepped into the waiting light beyond the palace doors, the crowd fell silent, and one final announcement loomed, ready to define her legacy forever. The doors opened. History leaned forward. Light spilled across the palace steps, sharp and white. Diana emerged slowly, the air charged with expectation. Hundreds of faces stared back at her. Strangers, supporters, critics, all bound together by one suspended moment. She paused. The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't shout. They waited. Behind her, officials stood rigid, trapped between authority and consequence. Cameras hovered, hungry but cautious now. Diana stepped forward. A woman in the crowd whispered, "That's her." A man beside her murmured. She didn't back down. Candles flickered in trembling hands, small flames refusing to go out despite the wind. Diana raised her hand gently. Silence deepened. I won't speak long, she said. Her voice carried, calm, unpolished, real. There was a child, Diana continued. Cold, silent, invisible. Murmurs rippled. I was told there were rules, she said, and I was told to follow them. Her eyes swept the crowd. But no rule matters when a child is freezing. A cry broke from somewhere. A sob, raw and unashamed. Diana didn't flinch. I did what any mother would do. Behind her, an official hissed. This isn't approved. Diana didn't turn. I won't apologize, she said clearly, and I won't retreat. The crowd stirred, not wild, not chaotic, steady, rising. A voice called out, thank you. Another followed, my son was homeless too. Stories surfaced like breath after drowning. Diana's gaze softened. You were never unseen, she said. The advisor stepped forward sharply. This statement is over. Diana looked back once. No, she replied. This is. She turned again to the people. Whatever comes next, she said, remember this moment. A chant began, uncertain at first, then stronger. Diana, Diana, Diana. The palace walls seemed to shrink beneath the sound. Inside, phones rang endlessly. Decisions scrambled. Control slipped. A staffer whispered urgently to the advisor. They're demanding a response. Now, Diana stepped down one step closer to the people, farther from protection. A woman pushed through the crowd, holding a baby wrapped in mismatched blankets. She lifted the child gently. Diana froze. Their eyes met mother to mother. The woman said only 4 words. He's warm now. Diana's throat tightened. She nodded once. She stepped down from power, and rose into something greater. As applause finally broke the silence, a palace announcement flashed across every screen, and its words would decide whether Diana's stand became a victory or a sacrifice. The announcement wasn't mercy, it was a price. The screens lit up across the palace, across the city, across living rooms still holding their breath. Official statement from the crown. Diana stood motionless as the words appeared, her face calm, her hands clasped lightly before her, not in submission but in readiness. A staffer read it aloud, voice tight. Effective immediately, Princess Diana's public duties will be reduced pending review. A murmur rolled through the crowd outside. Confusion first, then anger. Another line followed. All independent initiatives must cease. The advisor exhaled slowly. This is restraint, he said, not removal. Diana nodded once. They think this is enough. Outside, the chant faltered, then hardened. Let her speak. Shame. She did nothing wrong. Diana turned toward the doors again, but this time she didn't step out. She listened. Every voice, every crack of emotion. Her aide whispered, "This limits your reach." Diana replied quietly, "It clarifies it." Inside the palace, officials moved quickly, trying to regain rhythm. Schedules rewritten, appearances cancelled, doors quietly closed. A junior staffer approached, shaken. "They're calling it discipline." Diana looked at him. "Call it what it is," he swallowed. "Fear." In the private room, the woman and her baby waited. The baby slept peacefully, tiny fingers curling in warmth that no statement could undo. The woman looked up as Diana entered. "They're angry," she said softly. "Yes," Diana replied. "They are." "Did I cause this?" the woman asked, guilt creeping in. Diana knelt beside her. "No," she said firmly. "You revealed it." The woman's eyes filled. "I don't know how to repay you." Diana smiled gently. "You already did." A call came through. Personal, rare, a familiar voice, older, cautious. "You've made this difficult," it said. Diana listened, then responded evenly. "I made it visible." Silence answered back. Later, alone, Diana stood before the mirror again. Not checking appearance, checking resolve. Her title still stood. Her platform narrowed. But something else had widened beyond control. Outside, people didn't leave. Candles stayed lit. Stories kept surfacing. Kindness, once isolated, now connected. The advisor approached one final time. "You could still step back, say the right words." Diana met his gaze. "I already said them." They tried to reduce her influence, and accidentally revealed her power. As night fell, Diana made a quiet call of her own, one that would change how she helped forever. Beyond permission, beyond walls. She didn't call the palace, she called the people they ignored. The room was dim, lamps turned low. Diana sat alone at the small desk, phone pressed to her ear, voice barely above a whisper. Outside, the palace slept uneasily. "Yes," she said. "It's me." A pause. Then a breath on the other end. Disbelief turning into resolve. "I need discretion," Diana continued. "And I need action." She listened, nodding once. No announcements, no titles, just help. The call ended. Another began. Then another. Shelters, doctors, social workers. Women who knew cold nights by memory, not policy. By dawn, a quiet network was forming. Unseen, unapproved, unstoppable. Her aide entered softly. "You were up all night." Diana smiled faintly. "So were they." "They meaning?" "Everyone who never gets invited to meetings," Diana replied. In the guest room, the woman packed slowly, guided by a caseworker Diana trusted. The baby slept peacefully, wrapped in layers of real warmth. "They found us a place," the woman said, amazed. "Temporary, but safe." Diana squeezed her hand. "Temporary is a beginning." Tears slipped down the woman's face. "They told me I was invisible." Diana shook her head. "You were always seen, just not by them." Outside, the press waited, restless, hungry. Inside, officials whispered about containment. The advisor cornered Diana in the corridor. "You're working around us." Diana didn't deny it. "I'm working for them. This will be discovered," he warned. "Yes," Diana said calmly. "That's the point." By afternoon, stories began surfacing. Not leaked, but shared. Quiet acts, warm beds, anonymous donations, help without banners. A reporter asked sharply, "Are you defying the crown?" Diana answered evenly, "I'm supporting people." The question followed her down the hall. "Even if it cost you everything?" She stopped walking. "Yes," she said. Inside her pocket, a folded note rested. The little girl's handwriting, delivered that morning. "Sharing helps. Don't forget." Diana pressed the paper flat with her thumb. As evening settled, the palace realized something too late. Control had slipped not through rebellion, but through compassion. The advisor watched from a distance, understanding dawning slowly. She's not asking permission anymore, he murmured. No one replied. When doors closed to her, she built paths no one could lock. As the network quietly expanded beyond borders, a single question echoed through the halls of power. How do you stop someone who no longer needs you? The ripple became a wave, and waves don't ask permission. It began quietly, almost invisibly. A shelter in another city reported extra beds filled overnight. A hospital waived fees without explanation. A church basement opened its doors after midnight. No press release connected them. No crest marked the help. Yet the pattern was unmistakable. Diana stood at the window again, watching rain trace uncertain paths down the glass. Her aide entered slowly, eyes wide. It's spreading, he said. Diana didn't turn. Good. They're calling it a movement, he continued. They're asking where it came from. Diana smiled faintly. It came from need. Across the country, people began sharing stories. Not about Diana, but about each other. About strangers who stepped forward. About warmth passed hand to hand. Inside the palace, panic took shape. This is no longer containable, an official snapped. She's bypassing us completely. The advisor rubbed his temples. She isn't leading them, he said quietly. She's reminding them. A courier arrived with a stack of letters. Thousands. Some scrawled, some typed. All urgent. One read aloud shook the room. If she loses her title for helping us, we'll wear it for her. Diana closed her eyes at the words. In the guest quarters, the woman prepared to leave for her new shelter. Baby bundled and warm. She paused at the door. They gave me keys, she said, stunned. Keys. Diana hugged her gently. Keep them. What will they do to you? The woman asked. Diana met her gaze. Whatever they choose. The woman hesitated. Then whispered, they can't undo what you started. Diana watched her go, heart heavy and full at once. That evening, officials convened again. Voices raised. Tempers thin. We must separate her from this, one argued. Another shook his head. It's too late. Outside the gates, crowds gathered again. Not chanting now, but working. Volunteers arrived with food. Blankets, signs reading, no one is invisible. A reporter cornered the advisor. Is the palace losing control? He hesitated. Yes, he finally said. Inside, Diana removed her jewelry slowly, deliberately. Not in defeat, in clarity. Her aide asked softly, do you regret it? Diana looked toward the distant city lights. Not for a second. They tried to isolate her. And instead, she connected the world. As night deepened, one final decision remained. One that would decide whether Diana stood inside the crown or stepped beyond it forever. The choice wasn't forced. That made it heavier. The meeting room was smaller this time. No crowd, no cameras, just polished wood, stiff chairs, and a decision waiting in the air. Diana entered alone. An official gestured toward the seat. Please. She remained standing. This is your final opportunity, another said carefully. A statement, a clarification, distance from unauthorized efforts. Diana folded her hands calmly. You want silence. We want stability, the advisor replied. Diana tilted her head. At what temperature? A flicker of discomfort crossed the room. You've inspired unrest, one voice said. Expectation. Defiance. Diana met it evenly. I inspired response. A folder slid across the table toward her. Inside, terms. Restrictions. A future shaped smaller. If you sign, the advisor said, this ends. Diana opened the folder. Read once. Closed it. And if I don't? She asked. A pause. Longer this time. Then you step outside protection, an official said. Resources. Influence. Access. Diana nodded slowly. So be it. The advisor leaned forward, urgency cracking through. You'll lose everything. Diana's voice stayed steady. I already found what matters. Silence filled the room again. Not tense now, but resigned. Outside, rain began to fall, soft but persistent. Diana walked the corridor one last time, fingertips brushing familiar walls. Staff watched quietly. Some bowed deeper than protocol required. Her aide caught up to her near the exit. You don't have to do this alone, he said. Diana smiled gently. I won't be. At the doors she paused, not to look back but to breathe. Outside, people waited in the rain, not chanting, not demanding, simply present. Diana stepped forward. A woman called softly, We're here. Diana nodded once. Inside the building, officials watched from the shadows. Understanding too late, power had limits. Example did not. Diana didn't announce her choice. She embodied it. She walked down the steps, rain soaking her hair, shoulders bare of symbols, unburdened. The crowd parted, not to worship, but to welcome. She didn't abandon the crown. She outgrew it. As Diana disappeared into the rain with the people she chose, One final chapter remained. Not about power lost, but about a legacy no institution could reclaim. Morning came without ceremony, and the world felt different. The rain had washed the steps clean by dawn. Where crowds once stood, only damp footprints remained. Proof that something had happened here, even if no banners recorded it. Diana woke in a quiet room far from marble halls. No guards outside the door. No schedules pinned to the wall. Just silence, honest, unfamiliar silence. She sat up slowly, listening to it. News traveled fast anyway. Radios murmured in kitchens. Newspapers landed on doorsteps with restrained language masking unrestrained reaction. Commentators searched for the right tone. Scandal, tragedy, defiance, and found none that fit. She stepped away, one said carefully. But toward what? Another asked. Across the city, shelters felt the change before headlines did. Supplies arrived early. Volunteers showed up without being asked. Donations came without names attached. The woman and her baby slept through it all in a small, warm room. Sunlight filtered through thin curtains. Keys rested on the table. Still unbelievable. Elsewhere, inside the palace, rooms felt larger, colder. An official stood by the window Diana once favored. "She's gone," he said quietly. The advisor nodded, and she took something with her. "What?" the official asked. He didn't answer at first. Belief. Back in the city, Diana walked anonymously through a market street. Scarf pulled low. No one bowed. No one stared. A woman selling bread smiled at her anyway. "Cold morning," the woman said. "Yes," Diana replied. "Here," the woman added, handing her an extra roll. "You look like you need it." Diana hesitated, then accepted it. Hands brushing, warmth exchanged without titles. She carried the bread to a small community center buzzing with quiet work. People sorting coats, preparing meals, laughing softly between tasks. They looked up as she entered. Recognition flickered. Not awe, not fear, relief. "You came," someone said. "I said I would," Diana replied. They didn't ask what she'd lost. They showed her what they were building. That afternoon, a child tugged at her sleeve. "Are you staying?" the child asked. Diana knelt, meeting their eyes. "Yes." Outside, commentators continued debating cost and consequence. Inside the center, soup was served. Blankets folded, stories shared. The palace issued one final note. Formal, distant, attempting closure. The world barely noticed, because something else had replaced attention. Participation. She didn't disappear from the world. She finally stepped fully into it. As night settled, Diana stood among strangers who now felt like family, knowing the final chapter wouldn't be written by power, but by the lives forever changed. The child laughed, and the world finally understood. The sound echoed through the small community hall. Light, unguarded, alive. Diana turned toward it instinctively. The baby she had first seen wrapped in cold, now kicked happily on a mat. Cheeks full, eyes bright. The woman sat nearby, steady at last, watching with quiet disbelief. "He laughs all the time now," she said. Diana smiled, kneeling beside them. "He feels safe." Around them, the room moved with purpose. Volunteers passed bowls of soup. Coats were folded. Conversations flowed, not whispered, not cautious. Real. A man approached Diana hesitantly. "My sister was homeless," he said. "She didn't make it." Diana met his gaze, listening. "But because of this place," he continued, voice breaking, "someone else did." Diana placed a hand over his. "That matters." Outside, the media still speculated. Analysts argued legacy, loss, consequence. But inside the center, none of it reached. No microphones, no scripts, just people. The little girl from before, Emily, appeared at the doorway, clutching her pink blanket. Her eyes widened when she saw Diana. "You remembered," Emily said. Diana smiled warmly. "I promised." Emily looked around, amazed. "This is big." "It started small," Diana replied. "That's how the best things do." The woman with the baby stood slowly, emotion flooding her face. "They told me I'd be forgotten," she said. "They were wrong." Diana nodded. "They always are." As evening fell, candles were lit, not in protest now, but in gratitude. Names were spoken softly, stories shared. Healing, imperfect and real, unfolded in real time. Someone asked Diana quietly, "Do you miss it?" She knew what they meant. Titles, protection, distance. Diana glanced at the child laughing again, at Emily laying her blanket carefully beside him, at strangers becoming community. "No," she said. Outside the center, the city moved on. Inside, something stayed. News would later struggle to define her final chapter. Some would call it sacrifice, others rebellion. But those who were there knew the truth. Diana hadn't stepped down, she had stepped closer. She gave up a throne and gave thousands a place to stand. The night closed gently around them, not with applause or authority, but with warmth passed hand to hand. A legacy that would live wherever someone chose compassion over comfort. If kindness still matters, comment she was seen, ready to create another story like this.